Good evening, everyone, and welcome to CGM's Roundtable Series 2025. I am Gary Theseira. I happen to chair the CGM Council, and I'll be moderating this session. The CGM Roundtable Series is a collaborative platform, and our idea has been to bring together policymakers, industry leaders, academicians, and corporate players with a view to crowdsourcing practical policy recommendations for Malaysia's climate transition. We first began the Roundtable Series in 2022, and it's proved very, very successful in helping us move the agenda forward by bringing all of the stakeholders sort of into the same room so they can hear and listen to each other. For 2025, we are running 19 roundtable sessions across 6 themes. These themes are biodiversity, agriculture, energy and resources transition, finance, the built environment, and community engagement. And for this particular roundtable, we are very, very privileged to have as our partners in this HEINEKEN Malaysia, as well as the Global Environment Center, or GEC. So big thanks to these partners. Also, from CGM, a special thanks to PwC Malaysia for capturing the outputs and helping us to translate them into publications so that we can use them to accelerate our transition. This afternoon, we are very, very pleased and very, very fortunate to have with us 3 extremely knowledgeable guests who will be discussing the issue of water stewardship. First of all, we have Ms. Renuka Indrarajah, Corporate Affairs and Legal Director for HEINEKEN Malaysia, and also a trustee of the Spark Foundation, which, if you do not know, you can Google it. It's a foundation to improve the environment as well as social conditions. Our second guest, Emeritus Professor Dato Dr. Mazlin bin Mokhtar, Fellow of the Academy of Sciences Malaysia, Deputy Head for Research at Sunway University. Our third guest, last but not least, Dato Engineer Dr. Lim Chow Hock, Chairman of the Malaysian Capacity Development Network for Sustainable Water Management, also known as MyCDNet. So, as I mentioned earlier, the overarching objective of this roundtable series is to provide a platform for all voices to be heard. And so we do encourage you out there viewing this particular roundtable to engage with us. We have a Q&A box that is open throughout. Please use it. And we will, at the end of the session, also have a Zoom survey pop up. We would like your assistance to fill that out as well. So finally, before we begin, the goal today is not just to have a discussion, but to have practical policy suggestions, concrete ideas that we can capture to help the decision makers shape Malaysia's climate governance agenda. So let me get back to our speakers, and let me begin, ladies first, with Ms. Renuka Indrarajah of HEINEKEN Malaysia. What does water stewardship mean to you and to HEINEKEN Malaysia?
Thank you very much, Dr. Gary, for the introduction, and also big thanks to Professor Dr. Mazlin and Dr. Lim as well for joining this discussion today. Very important topic to us at HEINEKEN. I think we Malaysians take water security for granted because of the high level of rainfall that we have in Malaysia. Yet we've seen in the past, over the past few years, that every time there is a contamination by a certain industry, it impacts all of us at home, sometimes 2 to 4 days with no water supply or water disruptions, and in the manufacturing sector as well. Production is impacted, so it's a huge cost to business. So how do we all take care of that water supply? Because not only is it important for us, if I can just maybe share some slides with all of you, a little bit of background about the importance of water to food security. Yeah. So there are statistics which actually show that agriculture consumes about 72% of global water withdrawals. Yeah, all right. So this is our presentation for today, Water for Life, Food for Future. It's all about building resilient communities. So as I mentioned, the importance of water to agriculture. So 72% of global water withdrawals is for agriculture. Yeah. What is worrying is that half of the world's population could by 2025 be facing water scarcity issues. Yeah. So this declining water supply is going to impact food security. So all of us need to start taking water accessibility a lot more seriously, preserving our water sources, looking not just as individuals what we can do, but as corporates and as members of communities, what difference we can make to our water supply. So our global evergreen strategy, there's a 5-pronged strategy, business strategy, just to demonstrate how important sustainability is. It's one of the 5 key pillars of our business. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So our global sustainability and responsibility strategy is called Brew a Better World. There are 3 arms to it: social responsibility, advocating for responsible consumption, and environmental sustainability. So today's focus is really on the work that we're doing for the environment. Let's see if we can get the slides working now. All right.
Yep, it's transitioning. Yep, there we go. Got it.
Okay. So the work which we do specifically on water, it's a 3-pronged strategy on our water stewardship efforts. Water efficiency, where year on year we look at how to improve our water usage, how can we be more efficient in water usage, and we've actually reduced our consumption by 21% since 2014. Yeah, water circularity is where we look at how we can reuse or recycle water as much as possible, and also ensuring that the wastewater is treated above DOE standards. So all the discharge into the river is 100% of the water is above DOE standards. Water balancing is something we've achieved as a company, and I will share that story in a minute, where we're actually more than 200% water balance since 2020. Okay, as I mentioned, the work is not just what we do externally, but also we are inward looking at how can we be more efficient in our water usage. So as I mentioned, we actually improved our water usage. And one of the key things we did here was engage with the employees, getting them to come up with ideas how we could reduce our water consumption, getting them to be alert when they see leakage, when they see wastage, how do they go about rectifying the solution rather than just walking away. Yeah. Mm. And with that, proud of the achievement, 21% since 2014. And as I mentioned, the wastewater has been treated above DOE standards. Yes. So what actually happened here is that we had a wastewater treatment plant built as far back as 1983. But just in 2023, we invested a further 7 million ringgit into the facilities which you see in this slide. The reason for the upgrade is to ensure that the water is cleaned 100%. And also it helps us to generate biogas, to capture the biogas from the wastewater, and thereby fueling 4% of our thermal energy needs. So it had a dual purpose. Yes, an investment, but if you look at the longer term, there are returns as well to the business. So a little bit about the external work which we do. As I mentioned, as a company, we're more than 200% water balance. It started with the river, which flows directly behind our manufacturing facility. When we first started the project 18 years ago, the river was in very bad shape. It was used by a local community as their tong sampah. So basically all the rubbish went straight into the river. So a long journey, which we worked with Global Environment Center to get to the communities, to change their mindset, to get them to be responsible for the river and to understand that our rivers are actually our source of drinking water. And that's what a lot of Malaysians don't realize. They feel you just turn on the tap and you get clean water. But hey, the water's coming from the rivers where we are tossing our garbage out into. Yeah. So after years of effort, we've actually rehabilitated the river. It's gone from being a dead river to a river where fish can survive. We then took our work beyond the river in our backyard. We went to Raja Musa, construction of a clay dike and reforestation efforts went on there. And what we're very proud to say that the combination of these external efforts, as well as helping local communities with rainwater harvesting systems, we've built 33 rainwater harvesting systems, which today help support 12 community gardens, both in Peninsular Malaysia as well as in East Malaysia. So these combined efforts help us to be water balanced as a company. Yeah, but what do I mean by water balance? Dr. Gary, it's really about for every 1 liter of water that we use in our production, we ensure that 1.5 liters of water gets replenished into the natural environment. Yeah, and very happy to share also, as I spoke earlier, about the importance of recognizing water accessibility to communities will actually help them with food security issues. We've actually installed 5 rainwater harvesting systems and 3 gravity water systems in East Malaysia. So that brings brings support to more than 5,000 villages. Yeah, you can see the various photos here of community gardens set up, helping communities who previously had to walk 5 kilometers to access water, and today they have water in their backyards, allowing them community gardens and empowering them to then not only have their food source taken care of, but a little bit of income from them. So we feel that this is very important, the water food nexus to life, working with local communities, working with NGOs, empowering those communities, giving them not just the water systems, but the tools to maintain those water systems, and then helping them to set up community gardens. And most recently, very proud of the fact that with a community in Bentong, Pahang, we actually teach them to sell the byproducts as well. Yeah, so a little bit of a circular economy going on there through these efforts. Yeah. The recommendations from us, Dr. Gary and Dr. Mazlin, Dr. Lim, we are suggesting that we have a very clear national water security target. Yeah, just like we have for carbon as a nation, we're very clear where we want to get to and what is the roadmap to get there. Likewise, our suggestion is for water security, given that water security is so important to food security, why not have targets for mid and long term, a clear roadmap to get there? Let's establish public-private partnerships, similar like how Heineken is working with Global Environment Center and many other government agencies. Let's look for ways to have joint task force, because we personally found that by setting up a joint steering committee, taking ownership of the river, that's how you see real results. So by having a joint task force, we can not only take care of rivers, but look at the longer term implications on food security. Yeah. We'd like to look at ways to promote water and food security programs, such as tax incentives for companies, incentives for people coming up with innovative technology, and how do we encourage companies not just to get involved in projects to help their surrounding communities, but how do we get them to raise their initiatives to set industry-wide targets? Yeah, so having data is definitely helpful, and we hope that high consumption industries would be more transparent in terms of reporting their usage and what are their efforts to increase their efficiency and replenish water to the natural environment. So those are some of the things I'd like to kick off today's discussion with. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Renuka. I think it's been very, very illustrative what Heineken is doing, and I think that the concrete proposals are a solid way to move forward, I believe, because otherwise we'll have sort of a very, very vague water policies that sort of float in the government space, but never quite seem to reach the private sector and the business community, much less even the general public. Let me turn to our second guest now, Emeritus Prof. Dato Dr. Mazlin Mokhtar. In your experience, Prof. Dato, how has Malaysia, been faring in terms of our management of water? Have we been to date sort of good stewards of the very bounteous supply of water that we are given year round? Prof?
Hello, Gary. Thank you very much. Hello also to the other esteemed speakers, Renuka and Dato Dr. Lim, and also listeners and friends out there. Good afternoon. Yes, Dr. Gary, Malaysians have been quite forward-looking, especially if you look at the WST 2040, Water Sector Transformation 2040 Malaysia.
Yep.
That is a very ambitious plan that we had embarked, particularly involving experts, researchers, and professionals coming from knowledge-based institutions, particularly universities, particularly Academy of Sciences Malaysia. Malaysia had been forthcoming in producing the WST 2040. At the end of the day, what is so beautiful about this, as we rightly know that human beings, we always put economic and finance really as the most important thing. Very sorry to say that, but that's reality. So that what we had accepted. So Malaysia with WST 2040, we really wanting water sector to become an important contributor to GDP of Malaysia. Having said that, that means we are also forward-looking in terms of trying to establish better management of water resources in Malaysia, taking care of sufficient amount of water for our livelihood and economy, and also to ensure that water is of the good quality, appropriate quality for the different type of use. So what's important nowadays is that WST 2040 is much aligned to the expectation and demands of the very complicated society that we are living with today. That means we have to attach integrated water resource management. The subset of IWRM, integrated river basin management, must be aligned to aspirations and the bigger goals of green economy, as Renuka mentioned, circular economy, and then there's also bioeconomy. And of late, checking out from COP30, many pavilions, countries, and special interest groups are mentioning about blue economy. And today, very happy to see that the Chief Minister of Sabah has put Sabah as one of the leading states in Malaysia to really explore the potential of blue economy, not only in ensuring good water resources management, wise utilization of resources, also to ensure environmental sustainability and enhancement of the social economy. So whatever we do, we need to figure out how to enhance social economy. So in doing this, coming from academia particularly, we're looking at the potential of how universities can play a greater role in supporting businesses, in supporting government, especially government at the state level and the district level and the local authorities. So why universities are very important? Because universities, they do research, they do development thinking and action. They have many students that can help with trying to find solutions at the local level through volunteerism, through societies of the universities and all that. And what's more important again is the science based that produce knowledge. And this science base is very important in terms of decision making and policy making. So from academia again, I would like to encourage that universities, because they do research, R&D and innovation and creativity. We know that our country and even at the global level, we have beautiful roadmap, blueprint, and transformation plan. But the big challenge is to bring it down to state and district level, local level. So in order to do this, I think moving forward from this year, particularly the 13 Malaysia plan, we would like to encourage universities to become sort of the science panel to support the nearest district and all the districts within the state whereby the universities are being located. So we know Malaysia, every 2-3 years, we are very good at refining and relooking at blueprints and transformation roadmap. I also am happy that to have heard Renuka mention the word nexus. In order to solve problems related to water, we must also try to think of the nexus, the connectedness of water with food security, with energy and all that. So that means not only we should look at the WST 2040, but we do know that Malaysia also have very comprehensive and ambitious plans in terms of NETR, the National Energy Transformation Roadmap, and also the Hydrogen Energy Transformation Roadmap, and all sorts of other plans, food security, wildlife, biodiversity. So in order to help people at the district level and local communities to understand this, and what is more important, like Dr. Gary mentioned, how to implement things, this is where we need the professors and the brilliant PhD students, master students, honors year students to, if possible, from 2025 onwards, whether we like it or not, whether there's money or not, universities will always have to do research. What we would like to encourage universities in Malaysia to do before you embark on any research from this year onwards, please go and see and talk to the nearest district officer and local authority leaders. If possible, try to find solutions to solve problems which are related to that locality first. So this brings back to another important aspects of universities and knowledge centers, education. And when we mention education, it's not only the formal education, the curricula of education in universities, but also how universities can help secondary schools and go down further to primary schools and even further to kindergarten levels and all that. Work with teachers and all that. How to think better and do better. And in Malaysia, we know that we are good at memorizing things for exams. We are high flyers. We produce so many hundreds and thousands of 9A1 students for MCE, SPMs and all that. But we are still lacking in terms of systems thinking, ecosystems approach thinking, nexus thinking. This is something special that when we talk about big words like integrated water resource management, integrated river basin management, we need to really try to make into action the systems thinking, the ecosystems approach. Malaysia are very good at also being involved in a lot of ranking systems. You know, universities in Malaysia, we are very famous as having so many universities in the top 1%, 2% and so on of the world. But in terms of translating that knowledge into action at the local level, we still have many challenges. But we hope with the willingness of Malaysian government and Malaysian NGOs to partner with international organizations and all that, and fulfilling our global pledges. We report VNR, NDCs very regularly. This is good. But we still have challenges of how to implement things on the ground. This is where we really need the clever people at the universities to do it. And one more thing is about how do we assist in terms of special capacity building and capability development programs, not only for the younger generation, but for the current generation and the future leaders. I still would like to believe that developing countries like Malaysia, we still need the coordinatorship of district officers and local authority leaders. District officers are important because they are representing the state government. State government have the jurisdiction over water, forestry, soil, things like that, the natural resources. And local authorities, they are important in terms of disbursing licenses, renewal of licenses for development, for business, for industry. So this, if you count, if I'm not mistaken, there are 171 district officers that we need to prepare for the future, how to choose them properly, how to empower them properly. Capacity building programs are very important. And then, of course, in order to make things happen, we need to figure out the financial planning and the financial sources, and then the database, as Renuka mentioned. So in order to help ourselves to do better at the district level, local level, we also need to keep our own data and information. And we also need to build up a certain dashboard. So district officers, when they wake up in the morning, mayor of certain cities in Malaysia, they wake up in the morning, they can look at the handphone or computer to tell them what are the important indicators in order for them to become better coordinators and managers at the local level. Talent development, we really need to figure out in order to choose the very important 171 district officers, 155 local authority leaders of the future, how perhaps pegawai takbir and diplomatic, particularly in TAN, how do you plan to choose this group of people properly, identify them? You don't want certain expertise among the government officers to be lost. If they are trained in water resource management, environmental management, suddenly they are being promoted and transferred to some other perhaps less relevant ministries and departments. We need to think of that thing. Finally, technology. So nowadays, technology, we're talking about embracing artificial intelligence, embracing and utilizing satellite remote sensing technology. We are glad that Malaysia already have the Malaysian Satellite Agency and all that. How perhaps all these important ways of monitoring natural resource, monitoring river systems in Malaysia. In Malaysia, we have about 2,986 rivers. So the important river basins, 189 of them, how do we help ourselves to manage these things better? The concept of river basin management had been spoken since the 1990s, but until today, we have yet to produce even the first river basin authority. So maybe this is where we need to figure out, with the university playing a special role and responsibility, engaging with the nearest government officer, and of course bringing in the business and industry partner, communities, and not forgetting indigenous community, local community to also come in. And like Dr. Gary said, in all these challenges and barriers, there are always opportunity, particularly opportunity for entrepreneurship and businesses and all that. So not easy. It is a VUCA world, vulnerable, uncertain, complex, but together we can do it better, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Dato. Always a pleasure listening to you. Interesting that you mentioned capacity development as one of the key areas. Our next guest, Dato Engineer Dr. Lim, is precisely in this area. Perhaps you would enlighten us, Dato Lim. What are Malaysia's capacity gaps, and in your view, are we addressing them properly? And what perhaps would you propose to strengthen the capacity among all of these DOs and local officers as well? Dato?
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Gary, and very good afternoon to all the participants and listeners of this program. And certainly, I concur with all the proposals that actually has been mentioned by Mr. Renuka, and also Professor Dato Mazlin just now, I think both of them has, I would say, cover very comprehensively most of the proposals that we need to actually to strengthen our water so-called stewardship. I just want to add on and share my perspective from the civil society organization point of view. And I would say that obviously the important principle that actually we need to focus on is in terms of the good water governance is to base on the so-called applications or the principles of integrated water resources management at the river basin level, which I think Prof has also elaborated just now. And I would say that within this context of so-called good management, three important elements need to be given strong focus. And that's where I think where as far as Malaysia is concerned, we need to, in a way, give more focus to some of the aspects within this three important elements. Firstly, obviously, I think it's must having the right water policy, including the various strategies and action plan that need to be laid out within the policy. Recently, I think the water policy has been revised recently. I would say that it was sometime middle of this year, the relevant ministry, I think it's Petra, the ministry, the ministries of in charge of water, has reviewed the water policy, and they come up with I think I would say the very good so-called comprehensive policy covering water as a resource, all right, and water utilities as well in terms of the water supply, including even the aspect of sewage and sanitation. And I think including also water for agriculture, all aspects of usage of water. And in that policy, I think it also entails the various strategy. And that's very important that I think in Malaysia, this policy need to be in a way properly carried. All the strategy within this policy need to be implemented across the country, both not just at the federal level, but also at the state level, because we know that water and land and water is a state matter within the state jurisdiction. And I think in terms of the aspect of water policy and strategy, obviously the most important part is looking at water as resources, and water as resources need to be in a way sort of protected. All right, the so-called I would say that the embarrassing part is after having been the independence for so long, we are still, all right, having a problem of what we call the water quality problem. Water pollution is still the basic one on fundamental issues, and this has been rightly also addressed within the so-called the strategies for strategy plans and action plans. And that's why I think this is where all parties, all right, both from the agencies or relevant agencies at both federal and state level, including the men on the streets, industries, all right, academia, all right, and even the so-called the normal citizens had a role to play in terms of how to keep our river clean, all right, in terms of waste management, not to have all the rubbish go into the river, in terms of how the effluent from the industries, they actually need to be they discharge into the river. Pollution need to be addressed. I think in terms of water quantity, I think I would say that we do have sufficient with the abundant rainfall. But in terms of water quality, that's where I think we need to give us very, very much a focus on. Many agencies are involved, obviously, and I think that's where all the both federal and state agency have to be given the so-called strong mandate to do so. All right, that's the major gap there. It's very shy to say that I think we still have issues of water that are polluted and hence hamper the so-called water supply, the potable water supply function. Water pollution certainly need to be addressed at what we call at the source level, both what we call point source as well as non-point sources. Non-point sources like things like clearing of the land for development. Definitely we cannot stop development in terms of for socio-economic purpose, but how we actually in a way implement strategy to prevent the reduce of what we call the problems of erosion, soil erosion, for instance, right? We have plenty of data and to have it within the rivers, which I think is very embarrassing today. Industries has been actually throwing out effluents actually in a way all right, have effect on the water quality. And I'll say that today, this way, I think all this need to be stopped at stores, at the door level of the industries, all right, at the land clearing level. And that's where I think both local authorities at the state level, as well as also the federal government, in terms of the roads regulator, have actually a hand to play in terms of pollution control. So I think this is a major issue that need to be addressed. I certainly concur that I think the other aspect of what we call the water resource, so-called management part of it, in terms of water conservation, very much a lot of water has been actually in a way wasted. All right, in both the potable water supply as well as water for irrigation for food. I think Ms. Renuka has mentioned about how actually the need for having the so-called water and food and energy necessary. But sad to say, I think in terms of water so-called wastage has been still very, very, very high. For water supply system, I would be surprised that I think our national water losses through what we call the non-revenue water is far more than 30 or 40%, which is very high. I think that part need to be addressed seriously, you see, both at the federal as well as the state level. And there are many mechanisms to do so, all right? Though even though our water tariff is low, but that doesn't mean that actually we can splash water like that, all right? At the irrigation level, for irrigation scheme, talking about especially for food productions and more so for paddy planting area, irrigation for paddy area. Sad to say that today, by any developing world standard, our irrigation efficiency is still very, very low. Right? Things like we are wasting so much water, as much as even the 50 to 60% wastage, the seepage through the irrigation system. And so I think this 2 points need to be addressed in terms of water efficiency. And concur certainly, I think many of the points raised by both Renuka and Prof. Mazlin. In terms of aspect of tax incentive, obviously I think industries they use large amount of water. That's another area which we can actually, the government need to address, including the strategy, is the so-called the reductions of what we call the water footprint. All right. Renuka has already given a very example how HEINEKEN has actually solved so much of the water footprint, reducing water footprint, the usage of how you reduce backwater in terms of all of the so-called available water after having recycled the water for reuse purpose. So if industry can actually reduce the water footprint, all right, and government need to give certain what we call a tax incentive for industries that actually reduce water footprint. I think that's very, very important. And how to do it, all right, for different industries definitely require different technology. And also I think Prof. Mazlin mentioned industry can come in to help to do research. All right, so I think these are some of the major issues that need to, or the gaps that need to be addressed currently in the country. Right, the list can go on, but I think these are the few major issues that need to be addressed. Yeah. Pollutions and wastage of water need to be addressed. Yeah. And for that, certainly that calls for the second so-called principle of having the right institution, right? A right institution of so-called address water, both federal as well as the state level. And obviously the best type of so-called right institution level is water need to be in a way, I would say that governed, all right? It's everybody business. Every business at the federal level, every business, every ministry level, business, not just the water supply ministry or even the so-called natural resource and the climate change ministry, but even things like the Ministry of Education, the ministry that talk about information, multimedia information, right? All agencies have a role to play, directly or indirectly, to promote this conversation, so-called conservation of water, as well as more so in terms of pollution control. At the state level, all the state government need to be committed, fully committed, right up to, as what Prof mentioned, until the local council level as well. In terms of the right institution, I agree that certainly will be a step forward. Start thinking of, perhaps to start off with some big, we call it a big river basin, establishment of river basin authority, or they call it, river basin organization, not at the state level, but at the so-called catchment or river basin level. That will be very good forward. So I think a good a few pilot start for big major river system where water is where the states or the relevant region are experiencing water stress, that would be a good pilot to start off with. All right. So these are some proposals that I would put forward.
Right.
Thank you very much for that. All right.
Thank you so much, Dato. Your views very, very comprehensive, very, very useful. We are very grateful to the 56, 54 odd participants here. They've already begun to populate the Q&A box with some questions. We do have a question from Mr. Kenneth Tan. He's brave enough to identify himself. Kudos, Mr. Tan. His question is, with Malaysia becoming the center of attention, I think, for Asia, for the building of data centers, and I kind of knew this would come up. Okay, how is Malaysia prepared to support these investments through the supply of fresh water that is crucial for data center cooling? So I'm going to just let Mr. Tan hasn't specified a particular panelist he would like to address the question to. So would anyone like to address this? We kind of know about the data center issue, but any insights that any of the panel members could give to us?
Maybe I can just kick off.
Yeah, thank you, Renuka.
Sorry, Prof. Just kick off by saying that there's been a lot of engagement with government to highlight the high water usage and how it's going to impact other industries, surrounding industries, such as the semiconductor industry in Johor, right? So I think the government has taken note, and Ministry of International Trade and Industry, now when they approve these investments, they also set out criteria that these various data centers need to meet. And I believe these environmental concerns are set out there as well. Yeah. So hopefully there is sufficient tracking and tracing, as I mentioned earlier, that if high users of water are made to report on their consumption as well as what they're doing to replenish, I think that transparency needs to be there moving forward. Yeah. And with that, I'll pass on to you, Mazlin.
Thank you, Renuka. Thank you for the question. If I remember correctly, Dato Sri Fadila Yusof, our Deputy Prime Minister and also Minister for Petra, he has given a challenge to innovators and particularly researchers to think of better ways of reclaiming wastewaters. So already certain professors already come up with very good solutions, one of which is Professor Lee Kai-en from UKM, who had embarked on a very important project of coming up with a mobile constructed wetland system to process. His project was with Director General of Sewerage Department and also with Indah Water Consortium. So this constructed wetland system is utilizing certain plants and can be mobilized to be located at certain water treatment plants and Indah Water Consortium treatment plants to process dirty water to become water of certain standard, not for drinking, but can be utilized for cooling purposes of database and all that. So this is where, again, Dr. Gary, Renuka, and Dato Lim and Ken, where we need to encourage universities. If I'm not mistaken, we have so many universities, 20 public universities, about nearly 400 university colleges. We have about 1 million students at universities, tertiary education institution, and we have about 70,000 smart people as lecturers. I'm sure we can think of something good in this area. Thank you.
Maybe I just add on. Yeah, I think though like the two world superpowers seems to be racing to establish data center, not just in Malaysia but even throughout the I think Southeast Asian region. And look like within Malaysia, the southern the southern state in Johor even up to Selangor and Negeri Sembilan seems to be a high focus. And while we acknowledge that water actually is we're having water stress in certain state and certain area, but somehow we still been welcoming them. I think for whatever the geopolitical reasons. But I think let me put it that I think. The use of water for data center certainly need to be properly think of and regulated. You see, the supply of water, right? Probably the high percentage of the supply definitely has to come from what we call recycled water. I think that should be the basic principle. Fresh water obviously can be used for up to certain percentage only, but I think the bulk of it has to be from what we call the recycle. And I think one way out is look at what we call, there are plenty of water from the STP, sewage treatment plant. You'll be surprised that whatever actually we use on the potable water supply, as much as almost about, I would say close to 70-80% go to the sewage treatment plant. And this enormous of water from the sewage treatment plant, after being processed, that's where I think the condition that's stipulated by whatever, whether it's a federal state government to the data center proprietor, is that they must use so-called recycled water from STP, insist on that. All right. And second area where I think probably to, in a way, to ensure that the data center also in a way help to save as much water as possible is actually through the high tariff for them. Our normal consumption for water supply, certainly we probably the highest is about probably in Johor, the rate it varies throughout the different states. But for purpose of industries and what also I think it is slightly higher rate. But for data center, I think it should be at least 10 times much higher among the industrial sectors, and that's where I think so-called we can actually in a way force the data center operator to conserve water. All right, I think this is a way forward.
Yeah,
and
thank
also
you so
maybe
much.
one more point, Dr. Gary. If we look at the experiences of our nearest neighbor, to think that Malaysia receiving about 3,000 millimeters of rain every year, so maybe we can also think of better ways and technology to capture this heavy amount of rainfall and store it somewhere and utilize it when it's needed. Yeah. So maybe in Selangor we've heard of off-river storage system and all that. So maybe we can think of some better ways of storing this water.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I completely agree with you. I on the way into work today, I was on the MRT going by the the sewage treatment plant next to the Selangor Golf Club there, and I saw a rainwater harvesting system. It was basically the giant sewage treatment ponds. And all the rain that we were receiving for the last 2 days, more than 100 millimeters of rain has gone into that sewage treatment plant, and in all likelihood is raising the water there and overflowing and then contaminating the surface water as well. So I mean, so bountiful rainfall, but harvested and captured by the wrong infrastructure, also very, very problematic. Okay, so it's basically how we engage with our environment. I think that's very, very important. So I hope, Kenneth, you got your answer. We have another question, but this is directed straight to Prof. Mazlin by an anonymous attendee. What is the difference between a river basin authority and a state government water authority such as LUAS? Since a river basin authority would operate based on geographical boundaries of the basin, and how would their roles overlap with any existing state authorities? Would you mind answering that? Thanks.
Yeah, of course. If you take some of the river basin which transcends a few jurisdictions, crossing boundaries. For example, if you take Langat River Basin comprising, I think 78% is Selangor, under the jurisdiction of State of Selangor. And then another 12% or so under State of Negeri Sembilan, a little bit of Dewan Bandaraya Kuala Lumpur, and the remaining is under Perbadanan Putrajaya. So if we were to have a river basin authority of the Langat Basin, you need to have a special committee comprising of these 4 different jurisdictions. State water bodies, they are also important, but they look at all the water bodies within a particular state. So I would say, even if you have a river basin authority, you still need to work with all the water bodies, water authorities of those states. This is where we need to form a special authority. This has been spoken and discussed since the 1990s, since the days of Tan Sri Syarizaila was the Director General of DID, and Tan Sri Syarizaila is still active in the Academy Sciences Malaysia, trying to figure out where perhaps we can embark on perhaps a pilot river basin authority. Sarawak state government seems to be liking to form a state basin authority. Let's see which state can come up with a good demo site. So as we can see today, Sarawak has been quite gung-ho in terms of a lot of things, which are good. I think they are good. I like the fact that states becoming wanting to take leadership and control and manage their resources in their state. This is good. So let's see if Sarawak can come up with a good example. That would be good.
Yeah. Prof, while you're still speaking, we have a question from Ashraf Roslan, specifically regarding your mention of some kind of revamp in the education system. He was wondering if the National Planetary Health Action Plan is maybe a mechanism or a conduit through which industries can play their role in supporting the change, specifically in water and natural resources education. So it's kind of a nexus between industry and education under the National Planetary Health Action Plan. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, that is possible. Thank you, Ashraf. Thank you for raising this up. You see, some people nowadays are very excited about planetary health. Planetary health is quite recent. It's being raised up by professionals from the health sector. But if you look in the history of Ministry of Health Malaysia, even in the 1990s, early 2000s, Ministry of Health already embarked on what had been called environmental health. In fact, they come up with NEHAP, National Environmental Health Action Plan. You can Google this, Ashraf. But never mind, nowadays people are excited about planetary health. Planetary health, environmental health, all these are integrated, holistic approach to bring us to sustainable development. If you look at some other interests, for example, nowadays we have Global Geopark, National Geopark. Again, if you look at some other people, they like the Biosphere Reserve, they like the World Heritage Sites. All this, I would say, excellent, very good, we should support. This is where, again, you go back to your district, you go to your locality, you look at what your district and locality has to offer. Maybe it's something good in terms of geopark. Maybe it's something planetary health. Maybe it's biosphere reserve. Maybe it's sustainable forest management, so on and so on. All this integrated holistic approach, if you zoom into the elements and factors of it, they have common and differentiated role and responsibility. So, tepuk dada, tanya selera. Tepuk dada, tanya selera. But one thing, coordination must happen.
Yeah.
We very sorry to all the district officers and all that. It's not your fault. If you look at the capacity building, the training sessions for government officers, I don't think there is a systematic approach. Whenever government launch water sector transformation, net zero energy 2050, hydrogen roadmap, so on. But I did not see any systematic capacity building for pegawai takbir diplomatic, civil service officers and all that. This is where I encourage universities, let's work together. We have so many clever people, high performing scientists, 1% of the world and all that. We always say, oh, we have the best universities and all that, but if you look at the ranking of SDGs in Malaysia, it has been sliding down since the past 10 years. 10 years ago, Malaysia SDG reporting, we were numbered about 52 or 54. Everywhere we slide down, we are number 84. I don't think Malaysia is this lousy. This is where I propose the idea of systems thinking. Malaysia, we are good at a certain silo discipline, but we are lousy at looking at how to make a smooth connection between economic system, environment system, natural resource system. We are very lousy. This is where we need a systems thinking professional to come and help us. And then this ecosystems approach. River basin, what happened upstream, midstream, downstream?
Downstream.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Dato. We're running out of time. We've still got a couple of questions out there. Really like to get through the questions for our audience here. One for Ms. Renuka. Towards Healthy Watersheds Program 2023, I believe Heineken committed 6 million ringgit for phase 4 of its Water Stewardship Program. This is aligning with your Brew Available strategy. Mr. Loga Viraya asks, he wants to ask how the water efficiency related program, which links to reducing Heineken's consumption, is also undertaken. Maybe it's slightly technical, but do you think you could provide an answer to that?
Sure. So thank you very much, Mr. Loga, for the question. The 6 million is really the pledge that we made to invest over a number of years in the external activities. What I spoke about just now with the work we're doing with communities, the river, and with Indrarajah as well. Internally, a lot of work does go on to reduce our water consumption. So we do set long-term goals, and we have a very clear roadmap. What are the initiatives that we need to do to get there? And annually, we measure our water consumption, and annually also set targets of what needs to be achieved. Those targets are reviewed, they're reported in our annual report. Also, if we don't meet the targets, the gaps, what corrective action needs to be taken, we're very transparent in that. So there's a great deal of focus, as I mentioned earlier, about empowering employees to identify opportunities to increase our efficiency, and also looking for opportunities where we can reuse the water. So for instance, the affluent water which is treated can actually be used for gardening purposes. It can be used for cleaning, and also water which is used for washing bottles, for instance, can also be reused for cooling purposes. So appreciating that the water can have several rounds of usage before discharge.
Before discharge, yeah. We are also really coming down to the wire in terms of time. We have 2 questions outstanding. The second one is from an anonymous attendee. It says it points out actually that the SDG on water is quite impressive. That we have been wondering, would perhaps Dato Lim or Prof be able to respond to that one in writing, just to give your whether you agree or not with this particular view. But I think that the last outstanding question actually goes to, I think, Renuka also, and they want to know, could you share how your organization first initiated the water balance, I think, consumption with return to the environment? I think they found it quite intriguing. How did you establish the water reservoir baseline, and what approach did you use to verify the amount of water replenished through your environmental or community-based initiatives? So, once again, a bit more technical also. Maybe if you have a website or something that you have this process on, you could share that in the chat or in the answer box as well later on.
Sure.
Could you answer this question?
Yes.
Okay. You prefer to do that?
If I can, I'll be very quick, appreciating that time is short. So essentially, we look at the water intake from the brewery as well as the output. And we use science-based methods to actually balance. Yeah. So the World Resources Institute has the volumetric water-based accounting method. It's a science-based method, and we hire Limnotech, which is a US-based agency, to actually look at the water projects that we've done, whether it's Sungai Way or Raja Musa, and to calculate the amount of water that is replenished back into the environment. So it's purely science-based. Yeah, that's the short answer. We're happy to share more. If there's some way we can reach out also to the participant, happy to share more.
Okay. Yeah. So I just, by way of, there's been so much that's been said, not possible at all to disagree with anything that's been said. Very, very good proposals and views for establishing authorities and things like that. I noted that even in the last 2 days, just as I've been following my info banjir and things like that, there is a huge amount of data out there, really, and it's extremely useful data in that for every one of these monitoring stations, whether it's river stage monitoring stations or you can already see the rainfall information for the last 24 hours. You can see the rainfall information, the highest rainfall within an hour. You can see the river stage plotted out, so you can tell where the peaks are, whether they're in the safe zone, or moderate or the danger zone. And all of these data are being captured and monitored in real time by the DID or GPS. And you're absolutely right, Prof. I think that if we were to bring all this data to bear, we would be able to really accomplish a lot more in terms of early warning, in terms of preparedness, in terms of strategy planning for the future. So I would really like to thank our guests. You've been very wonderful. Ms. Renuka Indrarajah, of course, big thank you to you and to HEINEKEN Malaysia, both for speaking and for being a partner in this roundtable series. Prof. Dato, Dr. Mazlin, thank you so much for your expert views. Always good to learn from you. And Dato Engineer Lim, once again, your views on the capacity development needs, I think very, very relevant, and we'll be sure to get these out to everyone who's been involved. I think the program is also recorded and put on the CGM YouTube channel. I think the last order of business that I have is the survey. So I think at some point you will see a survey pop up on your screen. Do help us out by providing feedback on this series. We hope that you found it valuable. To our 52 odd participants who have joined us this evening, thank you so very, very much. It's been a pleasure having you, and I hope that you gained from this evening's exchange with our very, very amazing panelists. Thank you so very, very much. And with that, we come to an end of this roundtable on water stewardship. A very good evening, everyone. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you so much, Gary, for chairing the session.
Thank you, Gary, and all the participants. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you,
Dr.
Prof.
Lim,
Yeah,
Dr. Mazlin. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof. Mazlin. Yeah.
Thank you very much.